The Seth Leibsohn Show, where it's principles, not politics. Now, here's Seth.
Well, welcome back. Friday, August 5th, 2016. Total pleasure to welcome someone I've been watching a little bit from just a very slight distance, not a very far distance, a very slight one, on a race that's going on up in the Yavapai County area for House of Representatives, a race for Arizona State House of Representatives in District 1. This great candidate running up there, Chip Davis, I wanted to get on, and blessedly we were able to put the schedules together so that I am pleased to welcome Chip Davis to the airwaves here. Chip, welcome.
Million, Seth. Pleasure to be here.
Chip, it is your first time on this show. As a first-time guest, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, where you grew up and how you came to be doing what you're doing.
Appreciate it. I'm a fourth-generation Arizonan. I was born down at St. Joe's, and my mom and dad are still managing our family ranch up in a small place called Wagner, Arizona, center of Arizona. And my wife and I have 4 children and 10 grandchildren, and I think that's kind of what drew us to running for the Arizona State Legislature, because we have such a vested interest in our entire family of having a good, efficiently ran state.
One of the interesting things about your candidacy, people can go to your website, electchipdavis.com, to learn more, follow you, and read up on the issues. Prominently placed there in your list of issues that you are concerned about and want to work on. Of course, immigration reform, which I would like to talk to you about. But as you just mentioned, education. Love to hear you out on education, what your thoughts are, how we're doing, what you would plan to do if you go to the State House.
Well, I think we're at a very pivotal place with the state of Arizona in regards to education. You know, in the last 15 years, we've done this transition of purely traditional schools, and we had the creation of the charter schools, and then private schools, and then private charter schools, and consequently it's been very confusing for a lot of folks. It has different funding formulas, different for traditional versus charter versus private, etc. And one of the things I look forward to is doing a scientific approach to the funding formula so that we adequately fund each student appropriately while giving the taxpayer the biggest bang for their buck.
One of the issues that is dominant both here in Arizona and in every race, really, whether it's for State House, State Senate, Congress, or U.S. Senate, as well as in the presidential debate, is something you also have on your website, which is immigration. Talk to me about your views on immigration.
Well, Arizona is unique, being right next to the country of Mexico, and consequently, you know, we're kind of a highway for some of the illegal activities that run through here, and that is what we absolutely positively have got to get control of. But there's something else emerging, and that is worldwide, and that is the threat of terrorism. And if we can't adequately control our borders, what's to stop terrorists from coming across? And so now it's bigger than just drug mules. Now we actually have a threat to our country coming up through that southern border. And so I believe we need to get something together to make sure that our citizens feel secure. And there's another component, and that is that our construction industry, our agriculture industry is a lot of times dependent upon immigrant workers. And so I'd like to see us create a comprehensive work visa program.
Talk to me a little bit more about how that would work.
Well, I think a lot of the illegal border crossings we get are people that are just coming up to go to work. And if we had a system where we acknowledge that we need the workers to come in and allow them a process where they can come in and work. We don't give American benefits. We don't have health care, but we allow them to come in and work, and we acknowledge that and make it so that our businesses have access to that, the workers have access. Now we have less people crossing illegally, and we know who those folks are.
Chip, when you back, let me back up a second. Going back to your biography or autobiography, if I may, is this your first run at elected office?
I've been on the Yavapai County Board of Supervisors for five terms now.
Great, and some of the stuff you deal with up there, I mean, it is a slightly different series of issues that come before you, whether it's at the Yavapai County Board of Supervisors or other issues you would bring to the state legislature, right? It's a little different than what we deal with in Maricopa County. I don't know if it's fair to call it rural, but there are a different set of concerns up there, aren't there? There
are, and the district also includes Cave Creek, Carefree, Anthem, Desert Hills. And so each community has a little bit different issue statewide, and that's one of the things that I want to assure that we bring to the table, is that as we propose fixes for metropolitan areas, that they don't have a detrimental effect on rural areas. And we experience that quite a bit, that legislative proposals or bills that are actually passed end up having a negative effect on rural Arizona. And that's one of the voices we want to make sure is heard loud and clear down at the Capitol.
Chip, you're in a primary race, and I was just going to ask if you wouldn't mind telling some of the voters the differences between you and perhaps other opponents that you may be facing. Why voters in District 1 should pull the lever for Chip Davis? Well,
of course, any statement I have is going to be biased.
Sure. No, that's fine. Me too. Me too.
What I would sincerely ask is folks is that really do look at the background of the folks that are running for all elected positions, because after all, we're asking them to represent us. And we want to be sure that they're reflective of what our values are and what our morals and our ethics and our heritage and traditions. And we want them to really be what we want for our elected representative. And I hope that folks please do research me, but I'm very proud of my record. Yavapai County has been ran very efficiently. We're one of the most efficient counties in the state, and that's based on taxing. If you break down our general fund budget and break it down per population. So we're ran very efficiently. With my family being here for 4 generations, I sincerely believe I have a pretty good pulse of the issues that face rural Arizona. With my parents being in their 80s, we understand the obstacles that seniors are going through. With our kids raising young families, we know the value of a strong, vibrant economy so that they can have as many opportunities that I was certainly exposed to. And then with our grandkids, we have a sincere interest to make sure that there's an opportunity for our grandkids to compete on a worldwide market. When they get out of school, we're producing the smartest and the best kids. So I hope folks take a look at me and say, I've been elected 5 times, and the last 3 were unopposed. And the folks in my district said, well, we know you're good for your word. We know that when you render decisions, it's for the best of our county in this particular instance, and that you don't do things that are self-fulfilling. And I hope to take that same work ethic to the state legislature, that I work for the first legislative district, but also making Arizona as a whole as great as we can be.
How big of a problem? You talk a lot about our economy. You have some great things on your website about the budget. How big of a problem, when you and I were a few moments ago talking about education, how big of a problem do you think the education system is when we look to the other problems, the other struggles Arizona faces, whether it's the economy or whether it's a pro-growth sentiment that we want to see? Do you see the education system as basically the driver, but basically the baseline that we have to get right before we can do anything else right? Or do you think that the fix has to come from the top down?
Well, I think the education program is an example of the inefficiencies of so darn many of Arizona government programs. It is hitting the headlines, and it's definitely an important issue for us as a state. But we have many, many other departments and functions that the state of Arizona does that are just as poorly managed as the education has been over the last number of years. And so education is a big component, but I think more importantly, it should cause us to take a good hard look at all government functions and figuring out whether it's efficient, whether it's worth the value or the investment that we put into it, if it can be leaned down and become more efficient, or maybe even better served by putting out to private industry to manage. So I think that's one of the things I'm anxious to do, is to get in and really start pulling back the layers. When you look at the big picture of $9 billion, it's a little overwhelming, but if you're to start just department by department and analyze, okay, what's the function that they serve, what is it costing us to provide that, and is that acceptable or unacceptable? And if it's unacceptable, let's start finding where in the heck are we wasting that is making it unacceptable, or is the performance that bad? And let's start fixing things one at a time and making them efficient, just as private industry has to.
Well, Chip, thank you. That's a great statement, and I got to spend some more time up in the Yavapai County and in the Prescott area. It seems like not only is it gorgeous, I'm finding more and more of my favorite public servants seem to be collecting up there, whether it's people like you or my good friend Sheila Polk or Andy Tobin. There's something up in the water up there, it seems like, and I want to encourage all Arizonans really to watch you and take a look at your candidacy. ElectChipDavis.com is his website. He is Chip Davis, and he is running for the State House. I love it, Chip. Thank you very much for stopping by, or I should say calling in. I really very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Seth. It's been such a pleasure, and such an honor for you to allow me to be on your show. Thank you very much.
We'll talk to you soon, brother. Godspeed.
Thank you, Seth. Bye. Thank you, Seth. Bye. Thank you, Seth. Bye.